Hello and a very good morning. Thanks for tuning into News 9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the studio is my colleague and dear friend Varghese P. Abraham. And what Varghese and I essentially get up to early in the morning is take a look at what the top headlines are suggesting, what are the various newspapers saying, what are the tabloids suggesting, what are the headlines on social media and the internet, and bring you the latest updates. And it seems like, today we've got a lot to discuss. And why so? Because we want you, the viewers who are joining our stream, to get down in the comment section below and really become part and parcel of this process that we call our editorial meet, because we want to make the news that you'd like to consume and we'd want you to partake in it. Tell us really what is it that irks you, moves you, that you'd want to talk about and hear about. And on the front page of the Times of India, swanky looking phone, I must tell you, Marble Odyssey, and this is not an advertisement by OnePlus or Google, let me tell you. I just opened up the Times of India and I honestly quite really like the color of this particular phone, gold phone. There's a little niche about gold phones. Or Varghese, am I boring you with this gold phone analogy? You're not into the shiny and blingy stuff, are you?
I'm not a person about phones. I'm not that great in
I told you. Anyway, the front page, it seems like the Odisha train crash is something that we'll definitely have to talk about. Mukhtar Ansari getting a lifer, that is something that we'll have to talk about. A small little blurb on the side, ladies and gentlemen. It says that BBC, the broadcaster, the British Broadcasting Company, its India office, has accepted that it paid lower taxes in India. We'll take a look at what's happening at the restless protest vis-a-vis Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh's position, and now where are the wrestlers particularly stationed. We're learning that some of them have gone back to their jobs as well, even as one of them, Sakshi Malik, posted a tweet on the microblogging website that she facing some sort of threats at her job. Manish Sisodia, his bail plea has been rejected. His wife was apparently unwell, but the court has said that, take a days off, go see her, come back. There is no bail. There's this a small period of relief for him. The Prime Minister's little quotation on the front page that says, poor nations paying price for West's policies. And ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Washington later on in about 2 weeks' time, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and his counterpart Austin J. Lloyd, he was in New Delhi. And defense ties, when you're looking at defense technology, trade and transfer, that's something that's been pushed. There's a new framework that's been finalized, a proper roadmap between Rajnath Singh and his counterpart. But first and foremost, the tragic Odisha train crash, Varghese. I know you were in Kerala when the incident took place, and you reported for us from there what was happening there. And we tried to take a look at what was happening here in the national capital. What was something that you picked up when you were speaking to people out there? It was a tragic start to the month of June. Some 275 people.
Most of them said, was it not an avoidable accident? A lot of them said that it is about the signaling equipment and it was about how this accident panned out also. They were talking about why is it that the signaling systems are failing. Now, interestingly enough, the Indian Express has in fact raised the same issue. They are saying railway orders safety drive on signaling. Quick fix for green signal in Coromandel, likely the cause of Odisha train accident. They are still not saying that this could be the cause, but then there are a lot of other interesting things that they have also put into place. They are saying that there was malfunctioning of level crossing gate by which may have led to the tampering of the location box. Now, I'm trying to understand that also as well. What it says in the article by the Indian Express over here is this, that when they spoke to 6 officers, at least 6 of them, on how this thing works, this is what they got to know. What they are saying is that the Coromandel Express took the loop line instead of the main line and collided with the goods train, most likely because of tampering of the location box near the Bhanagar Bazaar railway station. Now, the sequence of events have already been mentioned by this paper as well. And over here something interesting is also mentioned. It's saying that the sequence of leading to the crash and derailment of the train, officers said, was probably triggered by a malfunctioning level crossing gate. So the issue starts from the level crossing gate itself, and its boom barrier was not working before the station. Now, in one version, the barrier remained raised, and in another, it did lower, but the signal continued to be red. Now, again, malfunctioning. the signal was red and the barrier gate was not lowered, or it was kept high, or was lowered, in a manner that won't say that it would stop something. So it started over there. So the malfunctioning of the signals have started over there is what they are saying. And in another, it did lower, but the signal continued to be red. That is, even though it had lowered, the signal continued to be red. In both cases, it was a problem, is what the officials say. So clearly, there seems to be somewhere else the problem has started off. So this entire signaling seems to have gone wrong.
I feel like the communication between one department and the other department is so weak in the Indian Railways. I mean, you've got a major crash that's already taken place, and you couldn't even tell the third train that something like this is happening.
That is the tragedy of it. I mean, how is it that that was not actually communicated to the train that was headed in that direction? And they are talking about it. They have also, in page number 13, the Indian Express has put out system failure in train crash. It's an explanation about what could have happened. I'm just reading some excerpts of it. The safe running of trains takes place in accordance with the sound logic that is fed into the electronic interlocking system. So this is an electronic system that is in fact looking at which train will be on which track. Okay, and this is how it works. Now, the various components of the interlocking system work in tandem, and if any one of them becomes non-compliant with the overall sound logic, the train is supposed to be brought to a halt, which means there was a system in place to say that if the signaling system went wrong, the train was immediately supposed to have been brought to halt. What happened with the Coromandel Express is unusual, is what it says. So it says that there was failure when it comes to the signaling system. If the signaling system was rampantly creating trouble, then the inbuilt system was to ensure that the train immediately halted and never went forward. But why did the train go forward is the question that we need to answer now.
And that's the bigger question everybody wants to ask, because if these the train collision safety system is not being implemented in almost 19% of the Indian Railways, I mean, that's a big question mark. You've got, I mean, take a look at this sad and tragic news after news coming out of the Odisha train crash. It says 100 bodies have been unidentified and DNA sampling is required for those 100 bodies. I mean, imagine the ordeal that their family members must be and might be going through at this point in time. There's an FIR that says that many were electrocuted by the overhead cables. We're talking about 100% electrification of the Indian Railways, and rightly so. I mean, that's the next step forward if you want the right evolution of the Indian Railways. But 40 bodies that have no external injuries, and people saying that they might have been electrocuted because of the cables above.
Well, that is another safety issue that we have to look at, where of course, the way we build our carriages, or the coaches that we in fact call, they are they have a lot of metallic parts. They are good conductors of electricity. Whether the manner in which you have the the beds that are laid out, or all of them are based on an iron frame. Iron is a good conductor of electricity. So, and your outer body is also made up of iron or steel, as we would call it. So industrial grade steel. So these are actually good conductors of electricity. So there could be some reason as to that could be mentioned that electrocution could have taken place, because the live wires, of course, might have come in contact with the overall body of the carriages or the coaches, which are metallic in nature. So this could have been the reason why we in fact saw those kind of tragedies as well. But the Hindu is in fact focusing on something else. They are saying that railways to secure signaling equipment with double locks. What they are saying is that a month-long safety drive is to be launched to ensure that cabins which house such equipment are provided with dual lock access system. Officials told to inspect and ensure that SMS alert is generated upon opening or closing of these relay rooms. Now, the Hindu also says that in this tragedy that has happened, it's saying that to secure the gumtis that house signaling equipment on the railway station premises with a double lock arrangement. A gumti is a small cabin at level crossing or near stations where railway equipment is kept. In a circular to the general managers of all zonal railways on Monday, Tej Prakash Agarwal, the Executive Director, Safety Railway Board, directed them to launch a month-long safety drive to ensure that the gomtis located within the railway station limits are provided with double locks. Will that be enough? Because see, this is being done to say that probably someone must have tampered with the signaling equipment, and that is why this tragedy has occurred. But is it enough to have this as such, Kabir, just to ensure there's a double lock facility, there's an SMS alert. Well, it looks poorly on the fact that the security measures, people are still not able to say whether it was tampered with or there was a systematic failure in the electronic signaling system.
Well, now a team from the CBI has reached the site. A probe into the accident has begun. Even as we just saw Mamata Banerjee, on the visuals, there was a cartoon on the front page of the Indian Express by Unni. I think, it's talking to an Ashwini Vaishnav, a small boy, and he's saying, maybe now you can consult the opposition. You've got 3 rail ministers in the opposition right now. And, people are bringing up numbers, data, statistics as to what rail minister, how many derailments under that particular rail minister, how many train crashes under that rail minister, who offered to step down, who did not offer to step down. Interestingly, it was Mamata Banerjee who offered to step down twice, but Atal Bihari Vajpayee asked her not to step down. But away from all the politics and people taking the railway minister's case, I mean, it's a huge mishap, it's a tragedy, and he did hit the ground running. And of course, on the same coin, you wouldn't expect anything less from your railway minister. You'd expect him to hit the ground running the minute something as tragic as this happens. Now that the CBI team has reached the site, a probe into the entire crash has been initiated.
Well,
do you think that that's going to be able to put the balm on the people who've lost their loved ones?
First of all, we don't know what led to this accident as being speculated right now. Some are saying it's a conspiracy.
Clear systemic misfailure?
There seems to be a systemic misfailure. So I think it is fine that the government is going ahead and investigating it from all angles. Even a CBI probe could be there, could give some kind of insight as well. So let us see who is responsible for this, whether it was a conspiracy that led to this accident or whether it was a systemic failure that led to the accident. Then we have to look at how this accident happened because of these systemic failures. Again, in the Hindu on the page 11, there are several parts of this story that has been given different new angles as well. As you said, the CBI is looking into the crime, not a railway accident. Kharge tells Modi, over here we have the Congress chief says there is a concern among common passengers about the decline in safety when it comes to the railway. So Kharge has also made a statement. Then the IRCTC has walked the extra mile to facilitate insurance settlements as well. As of now, because of this accident that has happened. Meanwhile, the railway's signal telecom wing needs new thinking. Accident puts spotlight on HR issues. Now, HR issues. This is a very interesting article.
That's exactly what I was saying. There is miscommunication. There is actually no communication between 2 departments. I was reading a Crompton Auditor General's report on derailments that ended in March 2021. And he listed out 5 points. And 3 of those points were that there is no talking, there is no communication between 2 departments. If something really needs to happen swiftly, it just won't be able to happen.
One more thing that we have to in fact look into this is that the railways, when it comes to the telecom wing, what it says over here is that the accident was put the spotlight on the human resource deployment problem at the ground level. It is saddled with semi-skilled workers promoted from linemen to handle mechanical or sophisticated electronic systems. So this is what one of the officials have said during anonymity. Whether these people have the ability to in fact look into this is what they are saying. It's a big issue that we are in fact looking at, and I think.
Is it a case of outdated staff, outdated mode of working, outdated? How do we address this situation?
Well, this interesting article that comes in over here is this, that the ground level staff simply cannot stand up to the pressure from the traffic or civil engineering wings breathing down their neck to complete the work, maintenance or inspection or repairs, as it would mean delay in running of the express trains. Problem is quite acute on the wayside stations, which express trains are supposed to breeze through without halting. Now, Railways has started outsourcing certain works, including maintenance of the new telecom signal equipment by the companies concerned. These firms deploy badly trained and lowly paid technical personnel with no motivation to work in such places. That is what the senior officials has said. Now, these are some of the HR problems, which is very interesting to see, that has given us insight into this issue as well, which says that there are people who are operating those systems who have no clue about the sophistication of these systems. They have been promoted from the lineman level. So
I don't understand. The officials here that have been quoted by Times of India say that CBI investigation will identify the guilty and their motive. Now, I don't understand. I mean, this seems to me like there's a rot in the system. There needs to be a complete overhaul of how things are looked at. We've got HR issues, we've got human resource issues, we've got staff issues.
But see, it looks like the human resource issue is huge over here, Kabir. It's like the issue is also, there's another issue that they are talking about. The issue is also inter-department rivalry despite unified managed structure in vogue now. Derailments should not happen. Railways, being a government monopoly, has no incentive for the performance. Instead of making top heads roll, they are hiding behind a sabotage theory of interlocking signal system being tampered to cover up for the system failure. This is another unnamed official whose quote has been taken.
The railways at the same time have denied that there are cut in safety bills. They've said that rupees 1 lakh crore have been spent over the last 5 years when it comes to safety bills. A CAG report that Mallikarjun Kharge cited doesn't really show the full picture. That is what is being quoted by spokespersons of the ruling dispensation. On the other hand, a railways carrying out its own probe. That probe will have no bearing on the CBI investigation. We know that there is a multi-layered problem at hand over here, be it technology, be it HR, be it communication between the staff, be it the standard that we've set in the Indian Railways. But the CBI says, but the officials say that the CBI investigation will identify the guilty and their motive. This looks like to me an Agatha Christie novel spin-off more than the agency's actual bid to really understand what really happened and who's to blame over here. Not the guilty and their motive, but essentially who's to blame and how do we clear the rot and move towards reformation in this particular case. And well, seems like on the front page itself, there is some other news as well. What would you like to pick up next, Varghese?
Well, let us in fact see what happened with the BBC. In fact, I think
on that note, BBC. If you're going to talk about BBC, we've got somebody in the comment section who began the chat box by saying, "Who cares about the Bakwas Broadcasting Corporation?" And I asked them if somebody's paying less taxes, isn't it our question to be asking them? I mean, nobody's above the law, right? And they say, why quote the print media? Are they not dated by the time they are available? We are much into the online live media. And Gopal Ramanathanji, firstly, many thanks for joining us in the chat box. But the idea is to educate everybody out there. Not everybody is as well versed as you are, maybe. So for people out there who aren't privy to the idea or the news that the BBC has actually accepted that it paid lower taxes in India, this is for them. I'll just quickly read out what the Times of India has to say, Varghese. It says, BBC has acknowledged that it may have paid lower taxes in India than its liability, the government sources have told on Monday. The broadcaster, which has been under the lens of tax authorities with its offices in Delhi and Mumbai being surveyed a few months ago, is yet to file a revised returns or make a written submission to the IT department.
So now the question over here is that have they accepted that they have in fact paid lower taxes?
They absolutely. So, that's what Times of India is saying.
So if Times of India is saying that, that means they would have to go ahead and go by the procedure of giving a revised tax. Now, if that has not,
or make a written submission to the IT department.
Yeah, but so now that is going to come with fines. I think that there will be attracting fines as well on the kind of taxes they had.
I think it's safe to say there are fines coming their way.
There could be fines coming their way. So I think they should be expecting fines coming their way. And if they have in fact paid lower taxes, of course they will be looking into their account books, and they'll have to in fact verify it, and the IT scanner will be much more on them in this regard. So I think, I mean, of course we did see the hullabaloo what happened when they were raided, and there was also questions about is
the
it because
controversial
of the documentary, yeah.
on Prime
So
Minister
there was
Modi.
a big question on that as well.
Yep.
But then as of now it looks like they couldn't keep their account books in place. So that is a simple task that most of the companies who are dealing with money have to be putting in place. So if they have not kept their account books in place, then I think of course, as they say, the taxman would be asking questions, and they'll have to go with that procedure.
All right. So I'm just trying to look for the bigger report on this one.
Well, also, it's safe to assume to say that whichever entity is functioning in this country, there are laws of this country that you have to follow. So you have to just follow it as much as possible. And in fact, let us see how it would work out as well. But yeah. I think
this is what the IT department says. BBC Units' income doesn't tally with scale of India operations. So their scale of operations in India don't really tally with their income. This coming from the BBC Units. Income tax authorities had surveyed the BBC offices in Delhi and Mumbai in February. So essentially, the IT department lends on the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. I'm not going to say what Gopal Ramanathan has compared the BBC with in our chat box, but it seems like the IT lens and the noose of the IT department is certainly tightening around the British Broadcasting Corporation. All right, let's quickly take a look at what's happening with Mukhtar Ansari as well, ladies and gentlemen. Mukhtar Ansari has gotten life imprisonment for murder of a UP strongman. It's a front page news today. I'm sure other newspapers have also carried the same particular news. How much weightage has each newspaper given to this particular story is a debate in itself at the moment. But it's his fifth conviction for the Don in 10 months. First conviction for murder. So the infographic on the front page of the Times of India says, justice after 32 years. In August 3rd, 1991, Awadhesh Rai was sprayed with bullets near his house in Varanasi. His brother Ajay Rai later lodged an FIR against Mukhtar Ansari and 5 others. November 23, 2007, blasts in the UP courts. Accused requests that case be transferred from Varanasi. 2 accused die in the course of trial, whilst the file of 2 others had been separated. Mukhtar's file was transferred to Prayagraj MP MLA court. That's what we're learning. And now Mukhtar Ansari, he's gotten life for murder of the UP strongman. So in Yogi Adityanath's reign, the idea of weighing down heavy on the mafia, it is still a popular narrative.
Well, it is a popular narrative, and also it also shows that there is a clear and cut agenda on the part of the government to get rid of those elements who have in fact used, or rather who have been running away from law and order. So it is very clear that the Yogi Adityanath government at the moment is looking to ensure that UP has to have a law and order situation which is conducive for investments, because wherever there is peace, of course you have more investments coming in. He has been looking, or even the central government has been looking at making Uttar Pradesh an industrial hub. It's trying to in fact get investments into Uttar Pradesh. You have a huge population. You have to. You also have a skilled population that can be further enhanced. So all these factors are there, but the issue has always been on law and order. And because of law and order, especially with strongmen who used to in fact handle with real estate, with the real estate mafia, used to in fact have a system of payments for protection that was put in place. These were things that was carrying away investments away from Uttar Pradesh. So it looks like the state government is now focused clearly on one factor, that is to ensure that these people who have been running away from the law are brought to justice. And this case has been going on for quite some time. He's been
Absolutely.
inside
32 years.
Yeah, 32. Yeah. So this case has been going on. It's come as
this Mukhtar's conviction, a victory of justice. This coming from Rai's brother. Judgment day after 32 years, ladies and gentlemen. Let's quickly take a look at what the law and order DGP of Uttar Pradesh has to say, and we've got another legal reaction on the same as well, and we'll come back for more.
एक राजनीतिक व्यक्ति अवधेश राय की जो हत्या सनसनीखेज तरीके से गोली मार के की गई, उक्त हत्याकांड के संबंध में वादी श्री अजय राय के द्वारा थाना चेतगंज पर मुकदमा अपराध संख्या 229/91 विरुद्ध मुख्तार अंसारी तथा अन्य के विरुद्ध थाना कैंट वाराणसी में पंजीकृत हुआ। अभियोग के विचारोपरांत अभियुक्तगण के विरुद्ध अपराध संख्या आरोप पत्र दिनांक 12/10/1991 को ही माननीय न्यायालय में प्रेषित कर दिया गया था। उक्त अभियोग के परीक्षण के दौरान एक अभियुक्त अब्दुल कलाम की मृत्यु हो गई तथा 3 अन्य अभियुक्तगणों की पत्रावली पृथक कर दी गई। अभियोग के परीक्षण माननीय एमपी एमएलए न्यायालय वाराणसी में चल रहा था, जिसमें साक्षियों तथा अन्य गवाहों तथा पूर्ण परीक्षण के उपरांत जजमेंट की तिथि आज दिनांक 5/6/2023 को नियत थी। उक्त अभियोग में आज माननीय एमपी एमएलए न्यायालय द्वारा साक्षियों के परीक्षण तथा सुनवाई की कार्रवाई पूर्ण होने के उपरांत अभियुक्त मुख्तार अंसारी को आजीवन कारावास तथा 1,20,000 रुपये के जुर्माना की सजा से दंडित किया गया।
रेरेस्ट ऑफ रेयर केस नहीं माना और उनको आजीवन कारावास की सजा और 1 लाख जुर्माना 302 में, और यदि जुर्माना नहीं अदा करते हैं तो 6 महीना और जेल में भुगतनी पड़ेगी। कहने का मतलब यह है कि अब मुख्तार अंसारी को अवधेश राय हत्याकांड में आजीवन जेल में बिताना होगा।
Well, all right. So Mukhtar Ansari's case, justice after 32 years. That's what Rai says. He's the one who's lodged the FIR after his brother was sprayed with bullets back in the 1990s. Quickly taking a look at the Indo-US ties. It's important to note here that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he's going to be heading to Washington in about 2 weeks' time. There's a proper state visit that's been lined up. Before that, there's a new framework when we're looking at Indo-US, India-US defense framework and technology transfer. A new framework has been finalized between Rajnath Singh, the defense minister, and his counterpart, Austin J. Lloyd. How are you looking at it? And when we're looking at India's rising stature in the global south, in the South Pacific, India-US bonhomie is something that people are crucially looking at.
Well, Kabir, if you look at how US has agreed to share technology with us or tech transfer, let me just bring in what the Tribune has in fact written on it. What it says is that the cooperation would be for the production of aircraft engines, aircraft launched missiles, fighter jets, armed drones, submarine tracking systems and unmanned undersea technology. Okay, and specific proposals could provide India access to cutting-edge technology. Now, there is only one country that has been fulfilling our cutting-edge technology demands. In fact, 2 countries to an extent. One is Russia and the other is Israel, where we are looking at transfer of technology. France has been trying to get into the Indian defense market for quite some time and have been promising TOTs, but we have only had the successful Rafale deal at the latest, and probably we were also looking at the submarine deals, but then the Scorpion issue had become kind of sour as much of its details were leaked online because of industrial rivalry. But here with the US, India had been looking for the similar kind of transfer of technology kind of a system of cooperation with the US as well, but US had been restricting India on many bases. In fact, there have been stages at which they never allowed us to use dual use technology was never given to us, which would have a civilian use as well as that's a dual use technology, where civilian use would be there as well as when it comes to the issue about using it for military reasons as well. So there has been a big clampdown on that for quite some time. But right now, the US seems to be opening its defense technology with some of its partners in the Indo-Pacific region. But with India, it's not as the way it's supposed to have opened, because still the US seems to be having a lot of reservations when it comes to having state-of-the-art equipment or details shared with India. You remember AUKUS, right? Australia, United States and the United Kingdom coming together. Now, they came together as an alliance in which India is not there, Japan is also not there. In that, what was the reason that they came on this so-called Anglo alliance, which I would call Anglo-American alliance, that I would like to call it? The reason is because they had to share nuclear technology with Australia. So, it was a close
the idea
system,
of what is a military pact and what is not a military pact.
So, yeah, but here the idea was that it could have been shared within the Quad, but then India and Japan would also be in the picture, so they didn't want that to happen. So they made another system within a system to share cutting-edge nuclear technology with Australia, so that they can use it and keep some of the Chinese encroachments on this or at sea at bay, and to ensure that
but
patrolling is
irrespective
also
of who it favors more in terms of the members of those particular pacts, be it the Quad, be it the AUKUS, visuals like these, I mean, Prime Minister Narendra Modi or the Defense Minister going to, let's say, Washington, or their counterparts coming back here, you've Anthony Blinken in India, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar sharing, a nicely diplomatic room with Anthony Blinken, that particular fanfare. All of this really irks China. And China is looking at all of this happening.
Well, it does irk China, and we have to, in fact, look at our options, because China has been very belligerent at our borders. It's not only they have been belligerent at our land borders, they have also been belligerent by trying to ensure that our sphere of influence has been taken over by China. They have, in fact, made our neighbors more unstable with their loans that they have been giving them. And they may, you know how they try to play Nepal against India, and how they've been trying to play Sri Lanka against India. They are also have tried to play Maldives against India. These are our traditional allies, and these are our traditional areas of influence. So China has been, in fact, trying to be belligerent with India for quite some time. And of course, we need to, in fact, explore those alliances as possible. But how much of an alliance are we looking at? For example, when we wanted cutting-edge technology, when it comes to our aircraft, we have a shortage of the number of squadrons that we require for a two-front war. We have a huge shortage when it comes to that. We've been trying to address that shortage by having this quick fix program of trying to, get the Rafales.
We don't even have the latest generation.
Yeah, we don't
of aircraft.
have we are probably in that 4++ generation. We are yet to have a 5th generation. We are still trying to, reach that kind of, and now the world is in fact exploring on 6th generation aircraft. So the Indian Air Force has got a lot of legacy aircrafts with them. Most of them from the Soviet Union and from Russia are and also the availability of these aircraft or turnaround time of these aircraft is also to be looked at. And what kind of aircraft was being in fact offered to us? We wanted cutting edge technology, but we were offered some of the legacy aircraft from the Americans itself. They were offering us the F-16s, and they said there will be a different version, and they repackaged it for India version, calling it the F-22, and tried to sell that to us. But the entire system is from the 1970s and 80s, and though the new electronic systems was something that they wanted to upgrade, but that has not been the kind of systems that we are looking. We are looking for the next generation 5++ or 5+ generation of aircraft is what we are looking at. But still, this is a big step that we have to take when it comes to the US, if they are still ready to go that extra mile to share the technology that we require. We are ready to, in fact, it looks like the industries in India are also ready to manufacture US aircraft as such. So let's see how the US in fact responds to this. On paper, it looks like a good deal, but this is nowhere close to what we have with Russia.
Oh, is that so?
Because the Russians have been...
I understand that India is the biggest importer when it comes to military prowess. We really take...
Or even with Israel. There is nothing close to what we have with Israel also. The kind of agreements and the kind of technology
transfer. But isn't it important to have
joint production that we have with Israel?
The United States? I mean, some of those visuals out there, it gets a little funny for me as well, because you want to put the idea out there that, these heads of two states are really meeting with each other. But those shake hands and those hugs get a little too much.
See, I'll tell you this
And I'll tell you what, Austin J. Lloyd's a big man. He's a big man. I mean, Rajnath Singh's a tall man himself, but his counterpart from the United States is a big man. Let's quickly listen in to what Austin J. Lloyd, the Defense Secretary for the United States, had to say.
I had productive discussions today with Defense Minister Singh and National Security Advisor Doval. As the world's two largest democracies, India and the United States play a unique role in preserving the rules-based international order that keeps us all secure. Since I last visited India in 2021, our global and strategic partnership has continued to rapidly grow. Today, the U.S.-India partnership is a cornerstone of a free and open Indo-Pacific.
Well, there's some really encouraging words over there. We'll have to wait and watch as to what happens ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. He's going to be in Washington for a proper state visit that has been lined, and this new framework that has been finalized, the roadmap to India-United States, says defense cooperation roadmap, that has been finally sealed. Those really nice and tight hugs would have told you so as well. But coming back to what's happening back at home, in Karnataka, where the Congress recently came to power with a thumping mandate, it says that the Karnataka cabinet is now going to discuss the cow slaughter law in its next meeting. So it's 5 promises. They've been implemented. They've already said that, the Bajrang Dal, PFI, hijab halal, all these communal issues are going to take the back seat. That is not something that they're going to prioritize on. And now the cabinet is going to discuss in its next meeting the cow slaughter law. So the Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah on Monday said that the anti-cow slaughter law in the state will be discussed in the upcoming cabinet meeting, as he defended his colleague and animal husbandry minister K. Venkatesh's statement that if buffaloes can be slaughtered, why not cows? Venkatesh's remarks, made in Mysuru on Saturday, evoked a sharp reaction from the opposition Bharatiya Janata Party, which held protests across the state on Monday. The party also cautioned the Congress-led government from repealing the Karnataka Prevention of Slaughter and Preservation of Cattle Act 2020. Let's quickly play out a reaction on the story, and we'll pick Varghese brain after that.
ನಾನು ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕಾನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಿಇಒಗಳಿಗೆ ಬೀಜ ಗೊಬ್ಬರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೃಷಿ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಬೀಜ ಗೊಬ್ಬರ ಕೀಟನಾಶಕಗಳು ಯಾವುದೇ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ತಲುಪಿಸಬೇಕು, ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಕಾನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಇಒಗಳಿಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಮಳೆಗಾಲ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಪ್ರವಾಹ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಬಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಿದ್ಧತೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಮಿಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಬೇಕು. ಪ್ರವಾಹ ಬರದೇ ಇರಲಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಪ್ರವಾಹ ಬಂದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಎದುರಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಿದ್ಧತೆಗಳನ್ನು ತಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡಿರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ?
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ
ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಓಕೆ.
Well, so Varghese, your 2 cents on the path that Siddaramaiah is now treading. Well, I've personally heard him say before that, let's not talk about beef, let's not talk about, the kind of foods we eat, let's keep that separate. And in down south, in my limited opinion, it seems like people have managed to keep religion outside their kitchens. But in Karnataka, not so as much.
Well, it depends upon which household you're part of. I mean, but over here, if you look at the larger context in which he has been speaking about, if there is an attempt to de-saffronize the policies of the previous BJP government. We just saw how the textbook thing was also in fact raised in Karnataka, saying some of those lessons will be removed out. And they also raised the issue about Tipu Jayanti celebrations, which was seen as a context of. So all these issues are in fact being taken, and this seems to be part of that de-saffronization process that the Congress government in Karnataka is now trying to push for. And over here, of course, he did mention the Karnataka Prevention of Cow Slaughter Cattle Preservation Act of 1964. In fact, prevents the slaughter of cows with that are below the age of 12 years. So any cattle that can be slaughtered is above the age of 12 years, and here this was the actual law. Later, an amendment was brought into this 1964 Act, and now that is what the cabinet will be taking up for legislation. The issue came to light because of the statement by Venkatesh, who is the Animal Husbandry Minister, and he said that what was the wrong in slaughtering cows when buffaloes could be slaughtered under the current legislation. So he had also pointed out the problems that farmers are facing after amendment to justify his statement, and he also went on to say that this will in fact lead to issues with the BJP, and the BJP of course are now planning to hold protests if they plan to remove that particular amendment from that from that Act of 1964. So it is going to be a face-off, and it also looks like on the larger part, it is part of the desaffranization process that is taking place in Karnataka, and the Congress is setting the agenda for it. And some of these were the promises that they in fact did make earlier in the campaigning as well, that they will try to decommunalize a lot of things. But then the BJP says that they have not gone against the law. They are in fact following through the directive principles, and that is why they got this particular amendment to respect the sentiments of the people.
Now, reacting to Venkatesh's remarks, former minister and BJP legislator V. Sunil Kumar alleged that the Congress loves neither the nation nor the cow. Is that a statement that's going to, bear down or have some sort of implications into the psyche of the voter, the common man in Karnataka?
See, Kabir, Karnataka is still in election mode. Only the state elections have gotten over, and probably it is round one. Of it. It's like there is another match in yes. There is another match in 2024 for which the campaigning game is still on, and both of them are in fact making these statements based on 2024. So this is the state that is continuing its election campaigning from the state assembly elections to 2024 general elections, and the Congress, as they had got a huge victory over here in the state assembly elections, is now trying its best to translate that into MP seats. So right now, if you do a rough projection of the 135 odd seats that they have, they probably could have sway on 23 MP seats of 28 MP seats. I mean, but we don't know how the voting pattern will be there, because people do prefer one kind of a party in the center and maybe another in the state. But still, they are trying to in fact ensure that this projection can work, at least to get 23 seats out of 28.
All right, so Karnataka cabinet is all set to discuss the cow slaughter law in its next meeting. What's going to happen, and what's going to what's going to be going inside the mind of Basavaraja Bommai is something that I'm going to be more interested in. But even as I'm looking at the Karnataka cabinet news, Varghese, right above it is another piece of information. This again from the northeast, however, not from Manipur this time around. There was a major skirmish that took place on the borders between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. 2 people have been killed, 2 have been injured in this firing that happened along the Arunachal-Assam border. This is what the cops are saying. Now, Assam Minister Ranoj Pegu, he's been quoted in the Hindustan Times. I'm just going to quickly read that quote out for you. He says, "I strongly condemn the act of violence at Panbari area of Assam-Arunachal border in Dhemaji." That's where exactly the shooting incident happened. To the outsider, somebody who's not well versed with the topography, the demography, the languages, the culture of the Northeast, I mean, they're just going to think that what's wrong with the Northeast? You've got these firing incidents between various states. You don't see that happening at Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan border, at, two
Northeast,
major other...
within Northeast, the integration of Northeast within Northeast, when I say as a region or as an identity, is still fractured, unlike, the integration of the states here in this
Is fragile a better word to be used?
It's not fragile, it is still to be integrated.
Actually, you know what? Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, let's listen into what he had to say, and we'll come back for more.
এতিয়াও আমাৰ বাউণ্ডাৰী আমি সীমাঙ্কন কৰিব পৰা নাই সাধাৰণতে সুবুৰীয়া ৰাজ্যই আমাক আক্ৰমণ নকৰে তাৰ কিছুমান লোকে মাটিৰ লোভত এই কামবিলাক কৰে পুলিচে তদন্ত কৰিব আৰু উপযুক্তভাৱে ব্যৱস্থা গ্ৰহণ কৰিব এতিয়া মই এটাই কথা ক'ব পাৰিম যে বিষয়টোৰ সম্পৰ্কত তাৰ বেকগ্ৰাউণ্ড কি ঘটনা কি জিলা উপায়ুক্তৰ আৰক্ষী অধীক্ষকে তদন্ত কৰিব মই ধলপুৰৰ পৰা বহি ধেমাজিৰ কথা ক'লে তথ্যৰ বিভ্ৰান্তি হ'লে আৰু পিছত বেয়া হ'ব
Well, so what do you make of those particular statements? it's a cliched chief minister statement that the said authorities have been contacted with. The guilty is going to soon be behind bars. We're going to get down to the bottom of this. And land acquisition, land dispute is one of those prime elements over there at play as well. In Manipur, we've seen how land has become such a huge issue of conflict, and between Assam and Arunachal, between Assam and Meghalaya, these shootings. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I think Assam shares around 804 kilometers of border with Arunachal, and of course, being an Indian state, both of them, you have movement and only a police checkposts that are there. But this happened during an event that was being organized at the borders. This planting of trees and Environment Day, when the shooting has happened. Let us find out what the police say, whether it has to be related with something of a personal nature, or whether it was something to do with the states itself. But the centre has taken it very seriously, and they've in fact asked both the chief ministers to meet up and to ensure that there is peace at the borders. Right now, the Seven Sisters are a tinderbox, but there is an attempt to in fact bring peace as well. We have to get the Manipur situation first settled, and then we should also ensure that these flashpoints that are there between the borders, because this, you've heard about the firing that happened between the other states and especially the police forces in these states as well. So it is a tinderbox which we have to in fact make sure that it does not happen again. But this is an unfortunate incident where 2 people were in fact killed in this firing incident, and it looks like they are letting the investigation happen. Both the chief ministers are letting the investigation happen and bring the people who are guilty and to book, and not to let passions flame the current divisions as well.
And even as we speak about Arunachal Pradesh, I'm reading a little excerpt. It says, China builds ecosystem to aid the Aksai Chin troops. This is a report by a think tank. It's based on an analysis of satellite images taken in the last 6 months since October 2022. So that a defense tie with the United
US
States
is in fact very
and
important.
China, all of that happening. Essentially trying to build a picture for you, what's really happening on the diplomatic front, what's happening here in terms of politics, in terms of clear public apathy. What are some stories that we have to do? Got a huge day lined up for us, cut out for us. Varghese, your main prime story, what is it that you're going to be working on today?
Well, I think first we should in fact look at what's happened in the northeast, especially between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, because it shouldn't flare into the way things have flared very badly. Secondly, of course, we will all be looking at what is the exact outcome of that train accident that happened, because everybody has been speculation, and I'm interested to find what could be the outcome of that CBI report as well, because it would give us insights what exactly happened, whether it was manufactured signaling mess that happened that led to this entire thing, or there was a systemic failure. And very interesting article from that Hindu which talks about the HR incapacity when it comes to operating this entire complex system, and how human resources are chosen for these things. So I think we should all concentrate on those things, but of course the priority
something
would
good
be
that's also happened. We've got a miracle rescue. A person after 48 hours was rescued from the accident and crash site.
Well, that's
after
some good news that coming in from there.
Absolutely. That's what we're a part of. Many thanks for joining with us on this morning editorial meet, for helping us understand what is it that you would like to do and want to hear about as well, because we here at News9 certainly believe what's being revealed is not news, what's being concealed is news. This is Kabir Naqvi signing off. Varghese, many thanks for joining us here. Keep it with News9.